scan photos. So here you can kind of see, it's hard because there's not a direct side shot. There's either a front 3/4 or a rear 3/4. But if you go right here, there's the edge of this, I don't know what that was, but I'm just going to call it the hole. And we're just not quite in line with it. We're just behind it. So I'm not sure how behind it that is really supposed to be. I'm not sure when this switched, whatever. So when we come back in here, let me grab the light. My camera shits out when it's not lit. So there you can see those two holes we're talking about. So this can kind of, you know, be anywhere here. I'm gonna sort of guess that it is about right there-ish. We're not quite on this front edge. Well, it's sort of weird. It has this edge that seems to be holding it up from any sort of happy place. And that edge gets better the further back you get as it goes down into this. But at the same time, that's definitely not supposed to be back that far according to the picture. So I'm gonna guess that it's somewhat right about there, and I'm gonna tack it. I mean, that's a plenty fine area to weld. So I'm gonna tack these in about here, and then in a super easy to cut out spot. And then once the main hoop and everything else is kind of tacked up, I'll be able to move them forward an inch or so each way, just to get the main hoop centered on the plate. So what I ended up doing before I tacked this, that helped significantly, is when you look at the underside of these plates, there's this thing. I don't know if that's supposed to be there, or maybe if it orients it in something in a, maybe in a sunroof car or a hatch or something. I have ran into a little bit of an issue with this being a non-sunroof car, where the halo sat was directly in this kind of dome light structure piece that had to be removed to let the halo in. But what I ended up doing here is I'm just taking a flap disc and grinding this nub down, and then also just kind of knocking this corner off this side, and that made it sit kind of perfectly flush with none of those big raised edges. So I'm going to do that to this one, and then I'm going to get them tacked in. All right, so we got those tacked in. Cutting off that nub made a world of difference. So I'm not sure why it was there, but I don't think I'm going to miss it. So both those kind of fell into their homes. Tacked up just the front corners, just in case that's not actually their homes, but it'll keep them from sliding around while we're trying to balance a bunch of pipes together, basically. So now I'm going to get this set up, probably do a time lapse of, I'm here by myself right now. Bob went to run some errands. So I'm going to try to get the hoop guesstimated where it fits, and start taping some stuff in place and start making some tacks. So don't laugh when you watch a bar fall on my head, because it's guaranteed to happen. So I think that worked out. With two people, it went in relatively painless, kind of leaned back and settled into a home. So what I went ahead and did was I made sure it was spaced the same side to side at the bottom at the base plate, and the same front to back. And then I just went ahead and made a little tack on the front of those just to keep them from sliding around. And then the top is just leaned back on those base plates. You can see they kind of found their own homes also and seem to be in damn near the exact same spot. So, and they do sit, there's kind of a bend in this base plate and they sit sort of in it, but good and tight. These aren't tacked just in case I need to move them around later, but that definitely helped. So hopefully it doesn't bite me in the ass somewhere later, but we are cruising along. So the next step is going to be to figure out how to hold this halo to the roof. I think I'm just going to try to duct tape it to start and hold it in enough to get these A-pillars snapped in, and then hopefully everything will kind of just hang out for a minute. All right, so we got the 8-pillar bars and the roof hoop, the halo, mocked up, and this is where this kit is really starting to impress me as we go along. I mean, it was impressive on the pallet, but really the value is coming out in it now. So like I showed you, I got the main hoop in, the 2 rear bars tacked to it to kind of locate it, and then I've got literally a adjustable hood prop holding the main hoop in. It kind of snaps in, and I'm going to show you some of these fitments. And remember, this is all just literally being held in place by duct tape and a hood prop right now, and it's impressive. So let me flip this around. When we go to the cage, so I kind of showed before, you know, these are sitting up flush on their base plates, easily weldable. Base plates, easily weldable. He made sure to give us plenty of room to fully weld around that, which is important. It's kind of why this angle's back in. This might take is going to take a little shoving around, but again, the only thing holding this whole thing up is that hood prop right there. So, I mean, the notch is tight, the notch is right. It just needs pushed back a little bit, as you can see. The one on the other side is fitting a hair better. I think that bar on that side just might need moved, you know, a millimeter. This one's in there good and tight. And then, I mean, this is where, like, it's literally so tight. You could weld that the whole way across. It fits just up in there. The most headroom I'd imagine possible on both sides. It even has these little kicks in it to get it up tighter towards the back. You can see there, just beautiful fitment. Comes around. We did have to remove that, whatever the hell that was. It looked like it was for a dome light or some buttons or something. These 8-pillar bars pretty much fall into place from there. They almost have a home that they snap into, and again, I mean, the fitment is just incredible. I was worried we were going to have to cut those off. I don't know if those would be an issue for you if you were running a factory dash bar. I assume that's what those are for. I'm not super familiar with this chassis. I'm clearly more of a BMW person. But yeah, I mean, this fitment is just incredible, you know. Everything's mirroring the other side really well. So what I'm going to do now that this is held up and taped is I'm going to slide these base plates out, circle kind of where I think those need to drop through. And then we're going to pop through the floor with the hole saw, get the base plates slid back in, get this all back up how it is right now, and then tack stuff to get ready to drop it. All right, so this is all tacked up now, or not tacked up, it's lined up. Everything's kind of sitting in the homes where it belongs. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to get out the little support bars. I think they're 1 inch or 1.25 inches. They're definitely smaller than the 1.5 inches that go between the main hoop and the halo and the A-pillars, and make sure those fit up, get them cleaned up. And then I'm going to go ahead and weld the bottoms of the halo to the main hoop. and those 2 support bars on the back. Then we're gonna get the holes popped for the A-pillars, get those out, get them back in, and get the bottom of those welded up. That's probably as far as we'll get today. It's getting a little late in the day. So we should be able to drop the cage first thing in the morning, weld up the tops, get it back in, boom, go from there. I can't say enough what a time saver this is. Bending these bars, taking these measurements, getting this all to fit, making all these notches, mocking everything up. I mean, I've been at this for a couple hours, taking my time, really making sure everything's real clean, real straight, real happy as we go along. Doing this on a custom cage, I'm multiple days in already, especially making the base plates. I'm probably would be sitting at day 3, I would guess right now, 3 or 4, depending on, I mean, I couldn't even make base plates like this, the way they're bent on a press brake and that sort of stuff. So I've done in approximately probably 4 hours, 5 hours. What, like I said, would have been 3 or 4 days before. So this is a huge time saver, huge labor saver. Yeah, so let me get this together and we'll go from there. So we are cruising along now. Just finished welding up the lower side of this halo to main hoop attachment up in here, and went ahead and got these support bars put in, gussets, I guess. I'm still not welding these rear ones. They're still just tacked. I'm just paranoid that when I go to drop this, they're gonna have an issue, and I'd hate to have that happen. So if I tilt it and they clear everything gorgeous, then I might pop it back up and weld them, because they're sitting real happy where they are right now. But yeah, so next step is going to be to pull these, mark these A-pillars down here, get these holes popped, and then get it all back together the way it is now. All right, sorry, I have to turn on my fan. It's like 100 degrees outside, and like definitely in the high 80s, 90s in here. It's a little miserable. So I'll try to talk louder. So we just finished popping those holes through. You can see there's one there and a matching one on the other side. Perfect. So what we are going to have to do, this side's clear. This car is on kind of a ghetto body roller we have here. This side, of course, is right over the corner of it conveniently. So we are gonna have to shift that around a little bit. We can do that later. So the next step is going to be to get those A-pillars back up and taped, like where we just cut them down from. Weld up the bottoms of those corners and those supports, and then we should be good to drop the cage. All right, so we just finished welding up the A-pillars to the halo bar. I'll show you that real quick, and then go over what we're gonna do next. So, like I said, we got this all kind of knocked back into place here. So now these are welded up from the underside. These are welded up from the underside. The next thing I'm gonna do is get these little guys in here. They sit somewhere in there like that. Get those welded up tomorrow morning, and then our holes are drilled, which you saw. So then we'll be able to pop this dash bar out, drop this down, weld the tops of all that up, get it back up, weld this dash bar. Then we're good to start working on the main hoop stuff, weld these rear bars back fully in. We might even get to the door bars. It's crazy how quick this is going. I could get more done today, probably. It's like 5:15. I threw out my back loading up the trailer after grid life, so I've been to the chiropractor. It's getting better, but it's starting to freeze up on me right now and get pretty sore. So rather than push it for another 45 minutes and risk re-injuring it, we're gonna call it, go rest, and then hit it hard tomorrow. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Cage kits are badass. All right, so we got the cage dropped down, started welding the tops up, got those all buttoned up. I was able to go ahead and weld these rear bars. They definitely had more than enough room and a clear home. So I went ahead and did those too. So this is what it's looking like now. Got all the tops of everything up in there, welded up on both sides. So we're gonna let this cool so we don't burn the shit out of ourselves trying to get it back up, and then pop it back up and get the base plates back under it. All right, so we got the cage back up. It kind of popped right back with a little finagling to where it was. Everything's fitting good. So I went ahead and welded up the remaining 4 base plates that were just kind of tacked in or not held in at all. So I got those done, and now we are kind of trying to figure out the next steps. So we did those base plates very first thing. But now we went ahead, these base plates are done, and those base plates are done. The cage still isn't welded down to them. That's probably gonna end up being one of the last things I do, because I don't wanna have this gap be too big and then the door bars not fit in between there. I'll be able to shift the cage around if we need to get clearance to anything, stuff like that. So I think the next step is gonna be to get the dash bar in, because that'll really set the A-pillar distance. And probably start working on the door bars. The harness bars and diagonal are gonna be the last things I try to do, because they kind of block your access in the car, really limit your room to lay down, get around, get comfy, stuff like that. So here's it right now, just sitting loose in there. Yeah, we'll get that dash bar in and then get rolling on the rest. All right, so I screwed up a little bit and didn't take a time lapse for the last hour or so. So we went to put in the rear support bars for the X. I was trying to work from the outside in, thinking that was gonna be the way to go. And the notches just didn't fit up quite right. And I figured out that the rear support notches were intending on the diagonal bars being there. So I went ahead and threw those in and tacked them in. Everything's still lining up great. So here's these all tacked in. Nothing's fully welded yet. But I did run into a little hang up here. It took us a little while to figure out. Let me grab the picture so it'll make more sense.
Now he's got to bring it back out the window. It has to add competition.
Sorry. So I printed off originally these, like I showed you earlier on. And to me, you know what? I was looking at this wrong the whole time. It's right, I'm dumb. So, just in case you're curious, this long rear support, the long one goes from the driver's side roof to passenger side pillar. The passenger side roof is the split one. So that took me a minute to figure out, but got that all in. It seems like it's gonna be easier to weld all that and without this in. I didn't really cover welding in all that, or setting it all in, it all kind of just fell right on its marks. I double checked it with a level. In a lot of the other kits I've seen people get on YouTube, this whole thing has come pre-assembled, and same with that rear X. I'm not sure if that's an option that I didn't select or if this one was just rushed out. No big deal, super easy. Took all of probably 15 minutes to get that together. So I'm gonna get in, fully weld that up, probably weld in this dash bar, and then we'll start on that rear stuff.